Hello everybody. Today I'm going to be talking or reviewing the questions that I've gotten wrong on the SAT, PSAT on the Khan Academy. And for the first one, yeah, I got it all right, so woo, go me. But for the second one, yeah, I got this one wrong. It was talking about station right here. The options you have are region, studio, district, or rank. Reading it over again, I should have chosen rank. I'm not really sure why I chose district. I probably read it wrong or like just misunderstood. So yeah. And for this one, um, this is a passage, two passages actually, talking about like the roles and gender equality and all that. Passage one is basically saying like men is superior to women, and passage two it's talking about how like the rank or like your role in society is based on determined by like your ability, not your sex. And it's 54 to 56. It's right here. Now if rights are founded in the nature of our moral being, then the mere circumstance of sex does not give to man higher rights and responsibilities than to woman. And since the first passage is written by Beecher, Catherine Beecher, and the second one is written by who Grimmick, yeah, she would or like Beecher would actually not agree with like that because well I chose B because like I wasn't sure like who Beecher was because I didn't read this part. It was like Catherine Beecher, but reading it again, you would know that she feels different about like the roles of men and women in society. They're different because in the first one, it says talking about like, oh, heaven has appointed that one sex is superior. So it's she's obviously not gonna agree. And for this one, uh, right here, it's talking about like over here. The main focus of the paragraph shifts from discussion of experiment and its results to I chose a conversation with a scientist who disputes the results. Because over here he's talking about it, but during the test I thought dispute was like just like analyze and sort of like talk about it, but dispute after I searched it up it means like to disagree or like have different thoughts, like going against that. But it's actually just a consideration of the questions prompted by the results because it was talking about like um is like the findings true in general or like does it apply to everybody or like does it boost like can companies use it to boost their products by manipulating the ratings. And yeah, and this one it's talking about the graph here. According to the picture, which category of news showed the smallest difference in mean score between artificially upvoted comments and control comments? I originally thought it was fun because this is a 2.3 to 2.01. That's still a 32 increase. But if you look at general news, it's 2.03 to 2.16. So that's just a 13 increase. So it's general news, not fun. And for this one, um, I didn't know like what this would meant because like I was sort of running down low on time. So this one is the type of story being commented on has an impact on the degree to which people can be influenced. This supports the ideas from the passage because it was talking about during Duncan Watts, the scientist, during his speech or like his part where he was like talking about it. He said the category of news items in which experiments had a strong effect on how people could be manipulated. And I would have thought that business is pretty similar to economics, yet they find a much stronger effect for the former than the latter. So it's talking about like the type of news story, type of story being commented on actually has an impact on like how people can be influenced. And it supports because business here, its mean is like 3.10. Business is 2.9, 2.09 before, like with the control, and artificially it jumped up like 1.01. And then the economics, it was 1.82, jumped up to 2.14. So yeah, it definitely like depends on which like type of story it's being commented on, because like again, for this one, general news decreased the least, and then it was like fun as well. So it definitely depends on like what type of story it's being commented on. And for the last one, this one I chose D because it does like sort of over here it's talking about how like people thought that the brain was static and like the size couldn't grow after a certain point. And I thought that was like sort of challenging the authenticity of the previous data, but it's actually not really challenging the previous data. It's sort of like calling into like question about like an opinion that everybody had. Because if you read this, according to the passage, McGuire found that taxi, blah 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 blah, and so on and so on. The passage indicates that this finding challenges an earlier consensus. It had long been thought that the adult brain was incapable of sprouting new neurons. That the brain's basic anatomical structure was more or less static. And her study actually suggested the old inherited wisdom was simply not true. And for this one, line 31, the researchers put both the mental athletes and a group of matched control subjects into mRNA scanners and asked them to memorize 3-digit numbers, so on and so on. And it's talking about matched right here. Comparable. Let's read it through. The researchers put the mental athletes and a group of comparable control subjects into MRI scanners and asked them to memorize 3-digit numbers. The researchers put both the mental athletes and a group of identical control subjects into MRI scanners. And if you try distinguishable, it doesn't make sense. Compelling, it doesn't make sense either. So it's between these two. And I chose identical because, like, if you actually like say it in a sentence, like I personally wouldn't say like the researchers put both the mental athletes and a group of comparable control subjects. It would be like similar. And it does say here similar, but similar and comparables are synonyms pretty much. So yeah, it's comparable instead of identical. And yeah, that is it. Thank you for watching this video.